Every generation of music has a big turning point, a single moment that changes everything. For the Beatles, it was when they first came to America in 1964 and caused a wave of Beatlemania. For Nirvana, it was the raw sound of Smells Like Teen Spirit in the early 90s. And for Drake, the young man from Toronto, that life-changing moment came in June 2010, when he released his first studio album, Thank Me Later. This album didn't just make him a star, it made him one of the most important voices of modern music. This is the story of how an actor from a teen TV show became a global rap icon. Welcome to Moses-Based Moments. Part 1. From Degrassi to the studio. Before the stadiums, before the awards, before the billion streams, there was Aubrey Graham, a young man best known as Jimmy Brooks on Degrassi, the next generation. For years, audiences watched him act out the struggles of teenage life on screen. But behind the camera, Aubrey was quietly writing verses, experimenting with beats, and dreaming of a future where his name wouldn't just appear in TV credits, it would top music charts. When he announced he was pursuing rap, most of the industry didn't take him seriously. He was the wheelchair kid from a Canadian teen drama, not someone who could stand beside hip-hop giants. But what people dismissed as a hobby was actually his true calling. Drake wasn't dabbling, he was building. Part 2. Mixtapes and Momentum. Drake's path to legitimacy wasn't overnight. In 2006, he released his first mixtape, Room for Improvement. It was raw, unpolished, but it gave him a foundation. A year later came Comeback Season. That project showed flashes of promise, a rapper unafraid of melody, able to switch between vulnerability and swagger. Still, he was a small name in a big world. Then, in 2009, everything changed. So Far Gone wasn't just another mixtape, it was a cultural event. Tracks like Best I Ever Had and Successful exploded beyond the underground, climbing charts and dominating radio. For the first time, Drake's music wasn't just local, it was international. What set him apart was how he blended genres. He wasn't rapping like everyone else. He wasn't singing like an R&B star. He was doing both, sometimes in the same verse. And that fusion resonated deeply. Listeners connected to his honesty, his vulnerability, and his refusal to fit a mold. The industry could no longer ignore him. Drake had arrived. Part 3. The Young Money Deal. Drake's rise through mixtapes and underground fame soon reached the ears of one of the biggest rappers alive at the time, Lil Wayne. In 2009, Lil Wayne wasn't just successful, he was at the very top of the rap world. His album, Thought Carter 3, had broken records, he was winning Grammy Awards, and he was running the game. His label, Young Money Entertainment, was becoming a powerhouse, and Wayne was searching for new artists who could carry the torch into the next generation. When Wayne first listened to Drake's music, he knew there was something different. Drake wasn't the typical rapper. He mixed sharp rap verses with smooth singing, creating a sound that felt fresh and new. To Wayne, Drake wasn't just another artist. He was a future leader. So, Wayne reached out. He invited Drake to join Young Money, alongside other rising stars like Nicki Minaj and Tyga. For Drake, this was more than just a record deal. It was an open door to the big leagues. Signing with Young Money changed everything. Overnight, Drake went from being a talented newcomer to having the full power of one of the strongest teams in hip-hop behind him. He now had credibility in the rap community, resources to produce on a higher level, and mentorship from one of the best rappers in history. Part 4. The Release of Thank Me. Later on, June 15, 2010, Drake released his first studio album, Thank Me Later. The pressure was massive. Everyone wanted to see if he could live up to the hype. Could this Canadian kid actually deliver an album strong enough to carry all the attention? The album answered that question immediately. Thank Me Later debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, selling nearly 500,000 copies in its first week. The sound of the album was different from what people expected. It wasn't just fast rap tracks, it was layered, emotional, and experimental. Songs like Find Your Love showed Drake leaning into melody, almost like an R&B star. Over was a confident anthem that declared his arrival. Fancy and Miss Me were pure hip-hop hits, with features from stars like T.I. and Lil Wayne. The album proved one thing: Drake wasn't a temporary star. He was here to stay. Part 5. The Reactions and Impact. The world reacted instantly when Thank Me Later was released. Fans who had followed Drake since the So Far Gone mixtape felt proud. They had seen his journey from an unknown Canadian artist to a global superstar. For them, it was like watching a friend finally win. New listeners were shocked, too. Many people only knew Drake as the guy from TV, the actor from Degrassi. But this album proved something very different. Drake wasn't just acting anymore. He was building his own lane in music, a lane that no one had driven on before. Critics had mixed opinions at first. Some thought Drake was too soft for rap, saying he was too emotional and sang too much. But others saw the future in his music. They noticed how his mix of rap and singing felt new and powerful. Looking back now, it's clear those critics were right. Drake's style would go on to reshape hip-hop for an entire generation. And the impact was huge. Within just a few months, Thank Me Later became more than just an album. It turned into a movement. It gave young people a new voice, one that wasn't afraid to talk about emotions, doubts, or relationships alongside success and fame. For many listeners, Drake's music felt real, honest, and personal, like he was telling their own stories. The album didn't just launch Drake into stardom, it changed what rap could sound like. Part 6. The Legacy of Thank Me. Later today, when we look back at Thank Me Later, it feels like the start of something much bigger. The album opened the door for Drake's future classics: Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, Views. It also opened the door for an entire wave of rappers who were not afraid to sing, not afraid to show vulnerability, not afraid to break traditional rules of hip-hop. Artists like Post Malone, Juice WRLD, and even The Weeknd found space in a world Drake helped shape. Drake's breakout wasn't just about numbers, it was about influence. His style became the blueprint for modern hip-hop. In 2010, a young man from Toronto released Thank Me Later, and the music world would never be the same. It was more than an album. It was a statement. It was the beginning of a new era. And that's why this moment will always be remembered as one of the world's most Moses-based moments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like, drop a comment, sharing your favorite Drake moment, and subscribe to Most Memorable Moments for more legendary stories from music and culture.